That's it. Recording is on.
Hi, this is the Maverick artist Victor-Hugo reporting modern art gonzo journalism for the modern art music movement. It is March 16th, 2024, reporting from the former Soviet Union, Republic of Georgia, near the border with Russia, Turkey, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, a camel ride away from Kazakhstan, the Ukraine, Israel, Syria, Iran, Lebanon, Palestine, Yemen, and the Gaza Strip. My job is not to be politically correct. It is to witness, observe, analyze, and document the beautiful chaos that surrounds us all so that future generations can understand how we got to this moment in time where through technology, we are communicating with Sweden and the United Kingdom, with Anders, David, and Kevin. I'm going to allow you guys to fill in the last names if you want. Otherwise, I'll just do that. And if we can start with Anders, you've been on the podcast before, the Modern Art Music Movement podcast. If you can reintroduce yourself for those who are listening, please.
Yes, I'm Anders, living here in south of Sweden. And yes, and what I'm doing is networking, try to get people together, and that's why I also wanted to have this show tonight with splspro. That is a real family to me. So yeah, and who I am, it doesn't matter. It's what we are doing here in life that's important. So
Great.
Yeah, over to next one.
Thanks for joining us. Kevin, you are with SPLS. If you can explain to people what is SPLS Pro and a little bit about yourself and your involvement in that, please.
Okay. I work alongside David, who we call the governor. SPLS Pro is sovereign paralegal or paralawful. That is our site. We deal with law rather than legislation, rather than codes, as you call them in the over in the States. That's what. So we unpick their rules, and we usually break them with their own rules because they never follow them. But my main position within SPLs is myself and another member, a guy called Graham, friend of mine for over 40 years. Unfortunately, we're both subject to disabilities with health, and we've unravelled the nonsense that goes on with the British Department of Work and Pensions, same as your Social Security department. Well, America, wherever, it's the same thing. We've unravelled stuff there, and what I generally concentrate on is a lot of sick and disabled people are being discriminated against, having their money stopped for no reason by unqualified people, and we go in and correct those wrongs directly with the Department of Work and Pensions, and are currently running at, and have been all along, 100% success rate. Nice. So that's where I concentrate.
And David, why do they call you the governor?
You're muted, Dave.
We can't hear you.
Self-titled. There we go. It did actually pop up there. Self-titled. They call me lots of names. It's the teachers at school. They say you shouldn't call one another names. A name, it begins with a capital letter. It denotes an object or a thing. It is a noun, and we are not objects or things. But I am responsible for setting up in about 2008, 2010. Cyber solicitors. I had an idea where we could get together and meet on Facebook, and we could discuss common problems of a legal nature, and look for lawful remedy. At that point, there was a great a movement for common law, Magna Carta, lawful rebellion. So I had to in my head work out what the job was as the instigator, the fire starter, if you like, in that respect, to get to the bottom of what's going on. So I designed the bare bones of a website alongside the the Facebook cyber solicitors, and then we've been along this journey for a good 10 or so years now. 2015, the first trust was set up for Facebook group. We expressed and established that. So I'm the captain of the ship, if you want, I use that term loosely, but a little bit of tongue in cheek, because we need to have a laugh about it in this macabre situation. So yeah, I'm the man that's responsible for formulation of trust and setting up the trust. And over the 10 years, there's been a lot of souls that we've encountered and worked with, come to be family members, extended, closer relations. So the governor, in respects of responsible for the principal trustee and settlor of splspro.com, which is our foundation educational private trust, and in that trust the website is in a trust, so it can't go down the lines of getoutofdebtfree.org. You won't know what that is, Victor, but England and the landmass there, the souls know about that. John Witterick and Mark Ceylon set up a website many years ago, and it ended up getting sold and being turned into a debt consolidation company. So I want to give the beneficiaries of our trust the assurance that the website's in a trust, so I can't sell it, nobody can sell it, it's got to stay there. And within that website there is an educational platform with regards to lawful solutions to legal charges upon your person, equity and trust, courses and things like that. So we are equal. We are all equal in front of the Creator. We are all created equal. The title, the self-title governor, is a play on words. The prisoner warden is the governor of the prison, So it's just a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, various names is what we call each other. But Kevin manages the Facebook side of things. Anders is all over the Telegram, and I'm working with our webmaster Greg to continuously build and improve the website, the portal, everything like that. So we've got our places, we've got our areas, our expertise. We are all equal, but I am the governor in that respect of the building and maintenance and management of the trust, the website, the formulation of that, the creation, the inception, and then forward of that, we're all equal. And it wasn't me, it was Kevin. I yield.
So as the fire starter, what was the spark that inspired you to take on this challenge?
Oh, you had to ask that. In a nutshell, suicide and depression after a family split in England, when dad and mum split up, and you've got young stars, offspring, or they're called kids, children, then the mum becomes the residential parent by default. So my baptism of fire into law was trying to convince my ex, the mother of my sired sons, that I was good enough to be able to see my children, my sons, my blood. So 2 years, £20,000, ended up in our Crown Court with a barrister, serious business. And then along that journey, in that 2 years and £20,000 spent to tell the judge that I'm a good dad and I do have rights, and I would like to be able to see my children, to get access to them. In England, you would, if the mum says no and she doesn't open the door, you can't mutually come to an agreement. You go to mediation. Mediation wasn't working because of the animosity and the nature of the split between me and the mother. So there was only one option, which was the court solicitors, and moving up to the Crown. It didn't start at a Crown with a barrister. It ended up that way because of the mud and the issues, as many millions are aware around the world. I'm not the first, I won't be the last. But aside from the actual court case itself and arguing for rights to see your sons, my mum was at Derby University, and she was a lecturer. She retired as the head of law for Derby University, so that gives you an area of my mother's acumen and experience. She'd been at Sheffield Hallam as a teacher there, so she was a solicitor, she was a teacher, she was a lecturer, she was under the dean at this point in time, where Derby Uni for law. So she explained to me, and so did the colleagues at the pub, because I weren't having it. I says, this isn't right, to close down. You've got a legal personality, David, and the courts speak legalese. I'm like, what? Say that again. am I high? And this is not an episode of the of whatever the Twilight Zone, is it? And she says, no, you need to be aware that you have a personality and your date of birth and surname. And I was like, wow, okay. Do other dads know about this? I bet they don't. At that point in time, there was the Fathers for Justice, I believe, fighting for fathers that are estranged or alienated from their blood by the disgruntled mothers, or the state, or the law system, the legal system. So they were dressing up in Batman and Spider-Man and climbing, places of public interest and buildings of public nature to get notoriety and to advertise these facts that dads aren't given any rights, mums are, and you need to pay a solicitor or you need to go to court. These are your options. This is as real as it is. So I decided to try to do something more beneficial, intellectual, constructive, with regards to making others aware, and that's where we are today after 10 or 15 years, 2005, 2015, so nearly 20 years looking the game doing that. So that was my baptism of fire, Victor.
Wow, that was totally unexpected. I can tell you, in this day and age where in my country, the United States, we're having a serious problem culturally and socially because there are so many fathers who do not take the responsibility and the courage that you took to make sure that they are fathers. And so I'm praying that what we share today will inspire any fathers or any mothers that are out there listening the importance of raising children with a father, because there's too many broken homes, and I think that's part of what's ailing. At least I can speak for my country, the United States, is the fatherless home. So good on you. That's I would say you're more than just the governor. In my book, you sound like a hero. So God bless you. And let's move over to Kevin. Kevin, I want to get to solutions, not just for those fathers out there who are fighting the legal system to be able to raise their children, but also for those people who are stuck in what's called the litigation vortex and the legal mafia. I know that the UK system is different than the United States system, but perhaps what you share with the audience today in the UK and in the United States can help them. What I want to do is take the approach of eating an elephant. To sit here and think that we're going to be able to consume an elephant in the room in 1 hour is impossible. So what would be the first bite that you would recommend for someone in the UK or in the US to take that they can then start that journey? Because it's a long and arduous process. What's the first step?
Well, for me, and I think for most people, it's understanding that you're not going into a court. Certainly not in the lower ends in this country. You're not going into a court proper until you're getting into Crown Court and above. What you're actually going into is a private administrative process, basically corporate policy. But they won't tell you that. You're not obliged to deal with these people. Have they given you any terms and conditions? Have they told you about any fees? Have you made any agreements with them? No, you haven't. It's just like it's unsolicited and it's totally illegal in this country. And it's clearly stated in Halsbury's Laws of England and stroke administrative courts. And it clearly says none of it can be validated because of the constraints placed on his stroke her majesty. These courts aren't warranted. They're not insured. They are not courts. You're entering into private business. And once you start to understand that, it makes life a bit easier. You can challenge. They don't like it. Of course they don't. They've had this going on for years and years, and they're not used to people coming in and going, excuse me, could I see your oath of office? Can I see your personal indemnity insurance in case you harm me here today? Oh, you'll break the place. You'll break it. And then they start shouting and screaming.
Let me ask you this. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the court cases that Donald Trump is involved with. But if what you're saying is true, then couldn't Donald Trump have gone into these courts without lawyers and just proclaimed the things that you're saying? For example, there's certain things that you have to say to the court, ask the bailiff what are the things that you would suggest if you were speaking to Donald Trump? And because I think he made a mistake by bringing lawyers in there with him. I think he should have gone in there and said the things that you're saying.
Well, he stepped right into their game. You've got to remember that judge sitting there, that prosecutor, and your defense attorney, they're all part of the same club.
Yeah.
And they cannot bring disrepute, like we would call it. They can't harm the crown, but they're not in there for you. And the first thing people need to realize when you use solicitors, lawyers, attorneys, whatever you want to call them, is if you use them to represent on your behalf, the first thing they do,
you've given up your right, right?
That's the first thing they do when they walk in the court. All your rights are gone because somebody's representing.
Yeah.
Okay, but they're all part of the club, and they can't bring harm onto that club or bring it into disrepute. So you're shot from the word go, really, because they're all in the same group. And you know, the first they have three. I'm trying to think the word I'm thinking of, but basically their first loyalty, if you want to call it, is to the court. The second is to the public, and the third is to you, the lonely client. You come third on the list.
So let's say, because I went through something called the Crackhead Jesus trials, which led me down the rabbit hole of the corrupt justice system. And I created an award-winning film called Crackhead Jesus, the movie, to warn people about this legal mafia that exists. And what I discovered was I went in there pro se, but had I known people like yourselves, I would have known exactly what to tell the judge and the court to go stuff themselves, which I'm hoping that you will share with the audience right now. I made the mistake of, he asked me to bring in a birth certificate because he didn't believe that my name was Victor-Hugo. So right off the bat, I already had a judge that was accusing me of being a liar. So that was a mistake. But if you can guide me through, like, for the people out there in the public, if it was Donald Trump and he went in there pro se, what were the things that he should have said or that I should have said in front of the court to show that they had no ownership over me and that the name that they had in all capitals was not me?
Well, so they're making a claim that that's you. That's why they say, what is your name? Well, I would personally respond, I don't have a name. I'm not a thing. I have a calling. My calling is Kevin. I'm commonly known as. But the birth certificate, that is my person. That's been afforded to me by the government. And I may be known by that name when it is of benefit to me. As in, if you need to claim some social security, I would use the name because that name is what would get my entitlement in the legal realm. But I'm the one that spent all the blood, sweat and tears paying into the what we call national insurance over here, which is a portion of your wages that's put away so that should you get into trouble, you can then go and claim these entitlements, you know. But really, you see, this is what makes me all a bit smell. Donald Trump's not an idiot, but he's still participating in the system. When you bring the lawyers in, they're loving it. Oh, loads of paychecks. But on a simple basis, if you want to keep it really simple, if you walk into one of these venues and they ask, you know, you can just repeat. I do not, you know, I do not understand, which we all know, understand in the legalese world doesn't mean do you comprehend? It means do you stand under? So I do not understand.
Gotcha.
I do not accept, and I do not consent.
So if you just repeat those, I do not understand, I do not accept, and I do not
And
consent. Every
I
time
do
the
not
judge
consent.
asks you to identify yourself,
Yeah,
you could
you can't. Can he prove he's going to until you claim the name on the birth certificate? The judge is liable. He holds the name. It's his liability. That's why he needs you to claim the name. So now it's your liability because you've claimed the name.
Now, I can tell you this,
May
having
I?
been in front of the court and this judge, he was getting very irate with me because I was countering him, not in the way that you just described, which would have been the right way. But a lot of people are intimidated because when you're in court, the bailiff is standing next to you. He's got his gun there. There's a lot of people in the audience, and it's a very intimidating situation. So what happens if the judge like just keeps yelling at you? What is your name? I'm gonna hold you in contempt of court.
Well, yeah, but how? Okay, so I'll hold you in contempt. My response would be, is that civil contempt, sir, or criminal contempt? And I'd also point out, how can I be in contempt in my own hearing? Because you've got to remember, it's your hearing, not theirs.
Let's slow this
It's
down a
your
bit.
hearing.
We're running ahead. We're missing bits as well. So you're not
Yeah,
not
well,
you, Kevin.
I'm
It's
trying to
but
condense it.
yeah, it's good. You're doing really well. So when Kevin said we do not understand, it's that we do not understand legalese. A key point for you to all take a note of is when my mother explained to me, as a son, no payment, mum to son, David, be careful in there. They speak a separate language, son. It writes like English. It looks like English. It even sounds like English, but it is found in Black's Law Dictionary, implied meanings and definitions. So we are not of the law society that has ensconced itself on the English landmass since 1067, since the William I Charter was drawn up with William the Conqueror and the city of London, because that's where he could not beat. So that's where they live, the Knights Templar, Jerusalem, Temple Mount. So you're getting this just enough for you. So we do not speak, we're not licensed, we're not in their society. We command English. It's common English. Mother's tongue. When you're little, mum teaches you to speak. She calls you what she calls you. So we remain there. That's that bit covered. And when you asked about Donald Trump, you've got to remember that there's public and there's private. All right. So in England as well, when we have Parliament, we have House of Commons, we have the Lords, the select committees, they call themselves Mr. They're Mr. Men, Mr. Mrs. Mr. Exchequer, Chancellor of the Exchequer, Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister. You see, they have they're not in their private sovereign capacity. They're in as wards. Remember I said warden looks after the prisoners, the governor, the wardens of the state. So they are wards. Where are you born? You're born on a hospital ward. Where were hospitals made? The military. So I'm giving you a little bit to tempt people. We will come back and we will elaborate till your heart's content. But Mr. Donald Trump, that's a title. Okay, that's a low title. So when you go to court and you want to play games, if you don't know how to control the court, you don't know what language the court speaks, you don't know what law the court may lie in, what jurisdiction the court may lie in, you're never going to win. And lastly, your paperwork should always precede you, shouldn't it, Kevin? So what Kevin's going to build up to now, I'm not giving him a clue. Or this is how we work. We bounce. We help each other. Not one man can give you an insightful A to Z in court. What is it called? Performance. Military performs. So your etymological insight should tell you, you should be able to hear this person's persona, language, legalese, Latin, ecclesia. It's very deep. We'll get there slowly, and with, like you said, bites of the elephant. So Kevin, over to you, my good man. Sorry for that.
Yeah, we always put if you've got paperwork, again, whatever your charges might be, it might be something pathetic like a parking ticket, it might be something a bit more serious, but your paperwork precedes you. So you would put in your challenges, etc., whatever you want to call them, your information, your truth in that paperwork. You always make sure that goes into the court. so that they've got it. And then you should make sure that if you've gone into the court, that the judge or the administrator, as far as I see it, has got it. And really, if your paperwork precedes you, any questions they ask, you can just say, I refer you to my paperwork, sir.
Oh, nice.
Make them do some work. Make them do the work. I put all the paperwork in. It's been in 2 or 3 weeks before this date. Why has nobody looked at it? My paperwork precedes me.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of road we go down.
Now, one other question. I don't know how it is in the UK, but in the United States, they have people who serve you, and they will literally hunt you down to serve you with papers. Can you, if somebody, like, for example, on the street, they ask you, hi, are you so-and-so? And if you answer that, then they say, I'm with such and such, and I'm serving you, and boom. Then I don't know if that works, but are you required then to show up to court, or can you not show up to court?
Well, have you accepted the service? Somebody shoves something into your hand. Are you going to grab it? Now you've accepted, haven't you? Or are you just going to go, I don't know what that is, mate, throw it on the floor, walk off? What are they going to do? They have to serve it to you.
But they will lie, because the thing is, they will claim that they served you, and then what happens? Because I mean, that's just the way it is. Those people who do that, they will lie.
May I just add, we have a clash, a difference here with America and England. We have the proof of service, CPR Section 6, proof of service there. So the different courts, legal and law. So the legal systems operate in England, the United Kingdom of Great Britain, which is a country in England. So it does operate in England as the UK of GB, but it's the UK of GB, as they said at the beginning, policy. That is done through the post and the pre-action protocols and the civil procedure rules, namely Section 6 for law. When we go to law of England and Wales High Courts, or we contest, we would argue that the claimant needs to prove that the due process was followed, and it works a little bit differently here. That's the legal side of things, and the lawful side of things. The legal, they will try to obfuscate, and if you don't pull them up and hold them to account, they will just railroad you and carry on. So you've got to know you've got to be aware of the duties and obligations and the procedures and the protocols. If you're not, then you're not going to win legally and lawfully. We can help with that. Then in England again, you have high courts serving a sheriff. They're called a sheriff here, over here, high court sheriff, Victor. They will be sent out to do what you're saying there, which is the subpoena or summoning or serving of the papers. So what we would, and let's just say, we're not giving legal advice in this chat for the purposes of clarity and the avoidances of doubt. There's no legal advice. We're not allowed to give. We can't. We're not solicitors. We're not of the Law Society. We're just duly informing you. So anybody that may come back to yourself or try to come to us and say that legal advice or lawful advice you gave was incorrect and we would like to get remedy and redress, we're not giving any advice. We're having a chat.
We're just having a chat.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's it for your viewers and everybody. Indemnification at the beginning.
Yeah, we're just taking the piss. You know?
Yeah, and serving. If anybody, like when your telephone rings or somebody knocks at the door, any kind of request for your person's name, yes, because if they know you, they might call you, yo, Hugo, yo, Vaca, or they might go, Papa Smurf. You might answer to a great different amount of identities, callings, etc. So anybody that knows you, anybody knocking at your door in the day or whatever, if you've got friends, they'll ring you, they'll text you, they'll arrange to come around. Anybody that's ringing unexpected, is it unsolicited? We say unannounced. Generally, it's trouble, it's danger, and they want something from your person. So the first thing we would recommend that you consider doing is, whether it be a telephone call, a knock at the door, an email, whatever it is, somebody wants your person and they're asking for that name, you stop them and you say, excuse me, who are you? and what's the nature of the business with my person. That way you stop everything, rather than just by going, oh yes, hello, it's David, how can I help you? Oh, hello David, you owe us money, we're coming for you. You know, it's one of them where, or it might not be money, it could be anything. It's normally civil. We're not criminals here. We're not trying to help criminals evade their day of justice. No, we're on about rights and retention, properties, duties, obligations. And if you stop things and you just say, who are you and what's the nature of your business with my person? They might try and say, oh, right, David, hello, whoa, stop. Who are you? I didn't say I'm David. The same with the court. If you don't claim the name and you don't create joinder, you haven't give the judge, arbiter, administrator, fiduciary in his fiduciary capacity authority. If you haven't claimed the name and become the employee of the state by saying you're Mr., Mrs., Ms., whatever, state name, all capitals, date of birth, then they have no authority over you. The only way this New World Order, when I say New World Order, when they created this New World of legality in 1066, 1067 onwards, well, Pope Boniface 1302, they created not just a new world and a new world order. It was the language of the new world is actually legalese, which is why it is disguised to look like English. It's warned about in the Bible, in Revelations, lest ye be deceived. It's a forked tongue of the snake. It has two meanings, you see. So again, taking the Father's name in vain, leaving the Father's house. It's got the KJV 1611 has got connotations, as we said to the other day, and it's a book of commerce, titles, rights, and things like that. So I'm sorry for butting in, but that's key and pertinent information that we bounce with, and that we would say, when anybody asks for your person, stop, do not agree, do not say it is you, ask who they are and what is the nature of their business. I yield.
Yeah.
Anders, Abraham Lincoln said, only a fool represents himself in court. And I was reminded of that constantly during the Crackhead Jesus trials when I represented myself pro se, but I was doing it as an art project, as a modern art gonzo journalist. I paint the news. And so I painted the judge, the bailiff, the court reporter, the witness, and all these to create this character on canvas that eventually was turned into a motion picture series script, of which I was only able to do the short as an introduction because I was getting death threats because people thought that I was blaspheming against Jesus Christ, calling him a crackhead, when everybody knows that Richard Pryor invented crack in the 80s. So my question to you is, have you ever experienced what I did in representing yourself before the court pro se without a lawyer?
Yes, I've been doing that. But first of all, I have to say that I guess that Abraham Lincoln was a lawyer himself, wasn't he?
I think he was. Yes, that's interesting.
Yeah. So why wouldn't he say that everybody's a fool if they represent themselves? You know,
Well,
then
yes, yes.
out of business. And
Again,
yes, I have been up. I have been up in the court by myself, and I wasn't very lucky at all, actually. I've been more lucky with the cases I've been writing into the courts, so it's been settled up, you know. More lucky with those stuffs. But anyway, I've been putting in my information and everything. It's there, you know. So that's the most important. And then when all this is in, then I can review the case again, and everything will be in there registered, because they don't expect you to go further with it.
What I notice, especially in the United States, and I don't know if this is happening in the UK, so you will have to speak to this, but there's a tremendous amount of fear in the United States. And most people will hear us talking about this, but when push comes to shove, they will be afraid to stand alone in that courtroom because it's intimidating. Do you have any advice for people with that, Kevin, of how they can overcome that fear?
Never go on your own. Always take at least one, preferably two or more, maybe even have friends of yours sitting in the public gallery as witnesses. to what is going on. They don't like that. The other thing,
I can speak to that from personal experience. When the judge threatened to hold me in contempt of court for making what he called a mockery of the justice system, because I showed up there with a video camera. This was back before they allowed cameras in the courtrooms. So I was actually one of the people who inspired the cameras to be in the courtrooms, because I told them, I said, I want a good record of what's going on in this courtroom, because the court reporters, they make mistakes and they take things out of context. And I said, also, Your Honor, I want to show the people the expression on your face, because a lot of times judges will roll their eyes and they will do things that show that they're prejudiced against you. So he said to me that if I used his name, likeness, or video, that he would hold me in contempt of court. And what he didn't tell me was that I couldn't paint the proceedings. So that's when I decided that the loophole was that I would paint the story of the Crackhead Jesus trials. For those of you at home who don't know the Crackhead Jesus trials, I'll make it real short. I had a tenant, I was a landlord, and he got high on crack, went to work, got on his desk, and proclaimed to all his employees he was the new Messiah and that they were now his disciples. So his wife calls me in a panic. She says, "Oh my God, my husband has a Jesus complex. He lost his job. We can't pay the rent." So when I went to the property to inquire, he opened the door in his white robe and Speedos. And I said, "I'm here to collect the rent." He says, "Jesus don't pay the rent." So I said, "Listen, mister, unless I get footage of you walking across that pool, Bank of America is not going to believe that I'm renting to the new Messiah." At which point he told me about the nervous breakdown that he had, and about the information that he had about the broken justice system and the litigation vortex. And he said he was going to prove it to me by keeping me tied up in the courts, and that eventually I would have to pay him to leave the property, and he would damage the property, and nothing I could do about it. And lo and behold, he was absolutely right. And the law firm that I hired of Alexander Condi and Aaron Kwon, they started opening themselves up to me about how corrupt the justice system is and how the lawyers talk amongst each other, especially in divorce cases, and they know exactly how much each side has, and they run it out so that each side basically goes bankrupt, and then they make deals with the judge, and that sometimes they flip a coin over death sentence proceedings and everything, because in Florida it was a death penalty state. So as soon as I found all this stuff out, I was horrified. I said, wow, I gotta let the people know. So as the story of the Crackhead Jesus trial started becoming more global, because it started getting picked up by newspapers, he was getting furious. And so he couldn't stop me, because when the lawyers of Condi and Kwon were trying to get me thrown in jail for contempt of court, he was showing my artwork, which you can see some of it behind me, but it's very cryptic. I put clues in there, like the case number and Fibonacci numbers. I wrote the judge's name cryptically. So he was telling me, he's like, "Oh, I know that my name is on there." I said, "Your Honor, I don't see it." I said, art is in the eye of the beholder." And he was getting so furious because he couldn't get me to admit that all the information for this case was in the paintings. But anyway, I knew that he was going to throw me in jail. So I bought a friend of mine, and he sat alone in that section where the audience gets to sit. And because he was there, even though the bailiff, who was very intimidating, he was huge. I'm not a very tall man, but this guy was a giant, and he had his gun and everything and his handcuffs, and he was standing close enough to me where I could feel his breath on my neck. And because there was a witness in the courtroom, I did not go to jail. And so that is very, very important. I can tell you this, be brave enough to show up in front of the courts, and be brave enough to show that you are not the property of the court, that you are your own individual, but don't go there alone. That's for sure.
No, never go alone. Just going back to Abraham Lincoln and him saying, a person that represents for himself is a fool. Well, that would make total sense, wouldn't it? If he was a lawyer and he spoke the language. That's why he's telling you anybody that goes in there to represent themselves or present themselves is a fool, because they don't speak the language. So that would make total sense to me. why he
And
Yes.
said it.
and also, you can look at it like this: two parties will enter the building for the argumentation. They will both have nominally they will normally have legal counsel representation, but one will win and one will lose. Normally, the one with the most money. So having counsel, legal aids, when you get infected with AIDS, the legal aids that infects you, then that counsel is not a guarantee that you're going to win, because somebody's got to lose, and normally there'll be a loser and a winner, isn't there? So when you've mentioned, not a lot of people will pick up on what pro se is. That's Latin, isn't it? So you know that, Victor, because you've used it. So pro se, sui juris, propria persona. So I like to lyrically attach myself to the language, and sometimes I find it's fun to have, a little rap or make songs and things with the P, propria persona. So in one's proper skin. When you are pro se, you need to know what Latin is and look at the Latin, not yourself, but we look at what pro is, what se is. Yeah, sui or suri juris, propria, one word, persona. So you got to look at that and what that means. But a prosecutor is also present in a court. A pro and a se and a cuter. That's at the bottom of your nail, what ladies trim, the nail bed area is called a cuticle. For those that don't know, it's part of the body. So prosecutor. Yeah, I'll let you work that out. You know what pro is, yeah? Well, I hope you do. And you know what se must be. So, yes, skin and cutting, we'll leave it there. It's interesting, isn't it? It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I yield.
It's
Sorry.
amazing when you go down that rabbit hole, how satanic the system really is.
Get their pound of flesh.
Totally satanic, yes. So again, going back to you, Kevin, if you can please fill in the audience that is listening at home. Again, we are not giving legal advice. We're just sharing things that you can do. So you have to explain to the court that you are not the person whose names are all capitalized there, that you are your own being. How, again, do you say that so that it's interpreted properly in the court? I've seen videos of people say it so properly that the judge actually walks out.
Yeah, they tend to abandon the venue because and oftentimes they'll abandon the venue and then they'll come back and move it to a different jurisdiction. That certainly happens over here. They might go out, you've pulled them up an administrative, they've gone out, they've knocked up a quick constructive trust, and they come back in, and now you're under maritime law. And if you know what they've done, you can then nullify that. And really, where you want them is in ecclesia, where they can't make any mistakes, but they often won't go there. Even in this country, you can go in and fight your corner, and you can stand and say, I'm not this is who I am, blah, 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 I'm not the name. And they will completely ignore you and carry on as if you're not there. In fact, they'll say to you, if you don't claim the name, I'll have a warrant issued for your arrest for failing to appear. While you're standing there. That's what they'll say.
Summary judgment.
Summary judgment. So you could go in and do all this wonderful stuff and think you've got away with it, or you've done it correctly. You leave the venue 2 or 3 days later. Here's your liability order, because we did it anyway, because we need to get our hands in your wallet. So we've gone ahead and done it anyway. That's the problem. They don't care. And this is why, and we've all done it in our group, we've gone into court with law and everything you could possibly imagine. But they don't have to accept it because they're not in a lawful realm. They're in an administrative realm. You can show them everything the law says and they'll just look at it and go, guilty, not guilty. My judge even entered, this wasn't for anything major, she entered the, she entered no, not guilty. She did all of that. So she held the liability. I never said I was guilty or not guilty. Actually, I said I was innocent. They don't like that word in there either, because they only give you 2 choices, don't they? Are you guilty or you're not guilty? No, I'm innocent of any of the charges. But they don't like it. You're challenging them. In England, one of the other things to do when you first go into the court, you just walk in a room and then people are basically judging you, for want of a better term. They're judging you. Right, well, hang on. Who are you? Can we have some introductions, please? Ask the judge for their full name. Ask the prosecutor for his full name. Ask the clerk of the court who is the power in that court. Forget the judge. That's why the clerk always advises the judge. The judge is not a proper judge. Do you know, over here in England, in what we call magistrates' courts, the training to be a judge is 8 hours. 8 hours to then go and sit in alleged judgment of people. So it's always good to ask for introductions. Where can I contact you in case there's an issue after these proceedings? They won't want to give you any of that information in England because the whole thing is illegal. That's why we never get liability orders signed. Even if the judge says, well, I found you liable, blah, 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 here's a liability order. There's no signature on it from the judge because it's all crap. It's all a con. That's why nobody puts their name to anything.
Now, the problem is, and again, we're trying to look for solutions, and I think this is why it seems like the whole world is going straight to hell, is because we realize that it's a con. We realize that the fix is in, but if we try to do anything about it, we can't, because the judge is also the jury and the executioner, and they're all like a mafia. It's a legal mafia.
Yeah.
So how can
you
we
can't
fix this? Or are we just screwed and we're basically
all
doomed?
you can do really is the process is going to go ahead whether you fight it or not. They need to get their hands in the till to get some money off you, and they'll do that because that's what all this is about. Revenue. All revenues, nothing else. So the only thing you can do is certainly in this country, I'm not so much aware of the process in America or elsewhere, but you could take that, you can take it to judicial review. You could even take it up to, the High Court, the King's Bench. And so you basically put a stop to the verdict, but then you've got to move it up into where law is actually held, and then challenge it in there. This judge did this. How can he do that? He put this in. He wouldn't listen to me. He was shouting and screaming at me in the court while I was trying to explain. And that's what we call in this country personage and barratry. So the personage is claim that name or else. And the barratry is when they start getting upset and shout and scream, "Oh, I know what, this is disgusting. I'll hold you in contempt." That's called personage and barratry, and they're both crimes in this country. But that's what they do. They try and scare you. Because you imagine if you undo just one case, especially in administrative courts, that shows that the whole way they're doing it is wrong, that's the whole system screwed. That's why they won't let it go through. They will not let it because the whole cash cow will be killed. That's really where we're at.
You're in Sweden. What's happening in the United States, and the whole world can see this with Judge Donald or Donald Trump going through these circus court cases. I don't know if you know, recently Fannie Willis, who was having the affair with the prosecutor, the judge who donated to Fannie Willis's campaign as attorney general for that state of Georgia. He basically said, okay, we know that you're lying. We know that the prosecutor's lying. One of you has to get off the case, but one of you who are obviously lying can stay on the case. So Fannie Willis stayed on the case. And then the case in New York with Judge Engoron, that's another situation where he claimed that Donald Trump's property was only worth 18 million when it's actually worth way more than that. And so basically, just like Kevin said, the whole system is a joke. how are we supposed to survive? We're already debt slaves. People say slavery is done, but there's more slavery now than back in the day when they were coming over on ships. How do we break ourselves from these shackles that they have us in? And they use it as it's legal extortion, what's happening with Trump. For example, the case that he has in New York, they fined him, I may be exaggerating, like $800 bazillion. And so they said, okay, for you to be able to appeal this, first you have to put the $800 bazillion in escrow before you can even appeal it. So the thing is, they make it impossible for you to come up with the $800 bazillion. This is Donald Trump. Now, let's say it's just a regular schmo living in Sweden. How the heck are they going to come up with this? So you see how it's almost like they're doing it on purpose with Donald Trump, because they're telling people, look, if we can do this to Donald Trump, don't think we can't do this to you. So that's what I perceive as happening. And the world is seeing this.
Yeah, first of all, it is only me that is living in Sweden of us. David and Kevin, they are sitting in Great Britain.
Yes, I'm sorry to hear that, guys, because I heard your country has been taken over by a bunch of poofters.
Oh, not many. I don't know what's going on. It's outrageous what's going on. It's unbelievable. And the majority of people are staring at their phones, walking down the street and watching EastEnders. I suppose the equivalent for you guys would have been back in the day, Dallas. That's their interest. Nobody sees it. Nobody sees it. I mean, we could go on about fluoride, etc., etc. And let's be honest, I don't think there's anybody here, and probably in your audience, that could look at the people around them and go, yeah, their intelligence is off the scale. It's gone so far downhill. It's unbelievable. I can't believe what people don't know, actual facts. Like, for instance, Antifa, we're anti-fascist. No, you're not. You are fascists. And that's how bad your education is. You don't even realize you are the fascists. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, that may be so, but in my country, the people actually believe that men can get pregnant. So,
yeah.
But going back to Sweden, Anders, what's your perception of this? Are we doomed, or is there hope?
No, we aren't. We are not doomed at all, but we are damned. Damned are we? Damned down. And what we have to do is we have to get that smack on the fingers, you know, what you was getting as a kid, and realize, oh shit, this was wrong, you know. That's what we have to understand. Somebody has to smack our fingers now. And it's happening all over the world. I can see it. Somebody says it's Trump behind it and everything. I see something is happening, but I don't trust in anything here. The only thing I can trust in, that is myself and my friends, my close friends and network. So that's what we have to do. We have to leave that big thing. We have to just turn our back to it and start with our own societies, our own connections, have our own farmers and everything. That's the only thing we can do, because we have to leave this system. We can't change it. We can't, you know. How are we going to change a legal system? But the good thing is, we have the knowledge now how it works and how it should work. And that's brilliant with David here, because he is reading the King James Bible and going in looking for everything that can prove that we are born free humans, you know. We are born like that. And we should live like that, free humans. And that doesn't mean that you can tell other people what they are doing is wrong. The only thing is, if you find what they are doing is wrong, move away from it. And it's like the Bible say, have nothing to do with the darkness and evil, rather expose it. Yeah, you can do that, just move away from it, but tell everybody, you know what they are doing there, just so you know it, and that's what we have to do, and that's what we are doing. Look what they are doing, look what they are doing. We have to tell the people, but the worst is when you tell your family and you tell your friends, you're gonna lose half of them. That's how it is, but they are coming back. They are coming back.
I want to bring Albert M into the conversation. If you're there, Albert, just say hello. Okay, Albert M is not with us. So I want to bring it over to David and keep it positive, because we're going to bring this to a close. I want you to reflect on what Anders said, which I can speak of personally, because I have been a whistleblower since the age of 18 when I was at the Naval Academy and I was being groomed to be a royal son of a bitch and to be part of this depopulation plan. But because I knew that the things that they were wanting me to do were evil, I had a gun to my head and a knife to my throat, and I had to go into hiding. And yes, it changed the course of my life, but I can sleep well at night. And so the problem that I'm seeing now, especially with what Anders said about family and friends, I've lost pretty much all my friends and family because of the fact that I've been daring to speak truth to power about the bioweapons disguised as vaccines, about the depopulation plan, about the stolen election, and all these other things. But what I have made is new friends. And I have new people that I consider family, total strangers.
Friends.
And what's interesting is these people came into my life the way you guys came into my life, not through coincidence and not through happenstance, but through destiny. We seem to be brought together with a purpose. And so that gives me confidence and that gives me hope. Can you, David, send us out with more hope?
Yes. Yeah, it'll be my pleasure to. We have created our own English, Britain, UK, whatever you want to call it, yeah, Anglo, it's to some extent, but we're not Anglo-Saxons either. But across this way of the pond, on the landmass formerly known as England, we have got a universal non-sectarian remedy. Would you believe that? Where we're going to invite our friends and family to consider proclaiming that they are incarnate, life, evidence of life, essence, incarnation, authentic beings, living soul. Genesis 2:7, God breathed the breath of life into Adam. Adam became a living soul. So by your own words, we are not free men on the land. We're not sovereign citizens. So when you explain this, what you're doing, because I suppose you stand up at some point and you think, I might be one of the 144,000. I might just be somebody that questions authority. I might just be journalistic by my very nature. Whatever it is, you question authority. You care for others. You have conscionable actions. You see the world is wrong, that the Club of Rome is getting drunk on the blood of innocents and saints. And we'll leave it there. You'd go to your family out of love and respect and concern, and you say, look, I found all this. Yeah, and I'm worried. You might want to have a look at it. And they just turn their backs on you. Or maybe 50-50, or maybe whatever. You get a mixed response. So the way that we've learned to connect with the with the other generations, not just our own family, but you've got millennials. We're Generation X. We did stuff old school, before telephones, before the internet, before, all of us on this call are Generation, is it X? And we were incarnate into this reality to help humanity. So the way that us old school souls here can look to connect to the younger generations that have come after us is to help them with money, with rights. Money talks and bullshit walks, in a nutshell. So if you can help them with a civil matter, with anything, and they can see that you've won it. You know, you've seen that you've done well. You've taken something of a concern, a charge, a civil issue on their legal person. Like Kevin and Graham have done massive amounts of work. They've helped tens of thousands of people for free, and they've given out their what would we call it, critical criteria for you to consider. And friends and family are mixed in with those thousands, and strangers. So, you know, we do it that way. The best way, only those with eyes to see and ears to hear. If you want to go Thoth, Egyptian, Greek, Hermes Trismegistus, the teachings are, when you are ready to learn, then the teacher shall appear. You know, as above, so below. You do unto others what do you do for yourself, you do unto others. There is many cultural sayings, and there is what would we call a cause and effect. There is exchange, equal exchange. There is a bond with your family, and you should never fall out with them. You've only got one of them. You have got friends, but we need to recognise that we have the strength there, and we have some commonalities that we need to recognise. So if you can help, rather than bombarding, if you can take a civil legal issue, whether it be IRS, Inland Revenue, you know, benefits, entitlements, civil issues, whatever it is, if you can help them and put this knowledge then, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for evidences. We've had to provide evidences with regards to what we can do with regards to courts. We've got videos that we keep private with our successes in the magistrates and crowns and things, and sometimes our failures. You know, we've got evidences on the Indiglo channel on YouTube of us, me, others, myself, because the governor has to put the word out there for people to hear and believe that you can question police and stop police officers, when we say that, not constables, and third-party officials, intermeddlers, agents, interlopers, debt collector agents, all of these things. You can stop the sheriffs and the troopers for across the pond and in other countries. You can use this on to show your family as well, you know. So that's how you would win them across. But ultimately, what is the solution? To close down, we need a decentralized private network of authentic beings and souls that can help each other out. And we have created, going back to the beginning of this answer for the question, a universal non-sectarian remedy where it satisfies Mosaic Abrahamic law, it satisfies legal, it satisfies lawful, it satisfies ecclesia, and it satisfies United Nations. There's 6 jurisdictions. When you speak of law, what law do you speak of? There's more than 6, a lot more. So we have created a homegrown grassroots remedy that is recognisable for all of those 6 jurisdictions. We are rolling it out here on the landmass formerly known as England. We'll go for the Sovereign Republic of New Britain, Briton. That's a land-based entity. Yes, it's not a physical area. It's just those that have expressed their essence and incarnation. You know, evidence of life, essence, incarnation, and know thyself. Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, Homer, great teachings from antiquities we've looked at. Go through theology, theosophy. When you know yourself and you know who you are, and you don't need books and you don't need videos, and you can stand upon your foundation, what you've built there, you know, and you stand for that, and you won't fall for anything. You'll do well, you know. And we are here to, as an international website, as a private trust, not a business, okay, but as an international teaching lawful website. We've got, when I say lawful, L-O-R-E, not L-A-W, L-A law, yes, and not the secular man-made rules of MAMM, you know, by man. So the constitution and the legislative arm of the government for us. Our constitution is non-codified in the legislative acts and statutes. America is codified, numbered constitution, sections, amendments, etc. So you've got to know what you're answerable to, what your duties and obligations are, what your common law duties are, what your person's answerable to, how you communicate that with levels of the church, the state. And there is hope, yeah. Like Anders said, this system wasn't designed broke. It's working perfectly well, and it's working as the Uncle Sam beast system, if you like. We're not going to split hairs, but we're here for problem solving, not for, making it worse. So yeah, we help family with relative answers to their problems. Ask them what's up, if there's anything you can do, and help them. And when they see that turnaround from their younger brother, their younger sister, somebody that they didn't think had quite got it, they will start to come around. It's a slow journey. If you love them, you'll take your time and you'll work with them. Like, you can't force them. You can't, it's just one of them things, isn't it? So and for everybody else, we have some answers, we have some solutions. We've been in this game a long time, and we're getting ready to seek remedy this year. And we are inviting other thought leaders, such as yourself, Victor, other continents, to join our decentralized private trust, and we would like to go international from national. We will teach you what you need to be taught, educate you to the best of our ability and knowledge, conscionably, and teach you about protection, property rights, titles, trust, equity, ecclesia, canon law, everything like that, maritime admiralty, court procedures. You shouldn't go to a civil issue. Not legal advice, remember, my opinion, my private opinion as Man David. I wouldn't go to a magistrate civil controversy claim against my person. I would deal with it in a different way now. Now I know what I know, and I would send paperwork to the court. Well, it's not a court, the administrative venue of business masquerading as a court. My paperwork would serve as an officer in the court. I would use the Royal Mail postage system and the signed for special delivery, signed for postage, delivery under the Universal Postal Unions, under the various acts and treaties and so forth under that. It's regulated and monitored. It's in accordance with the civil procedure rules, with the pre-action protocols, despite the venue being administrative and private and a corporation, as Kevin said, no judge, arbiter, trustee, fiduciary, no evil tyrant's decision is final. You have the right as an appellant to work your way up, and if you've kept clean hands. When we say clean hands, they crucified JC. They could find no fault with him. He had clean hands, but he was murdered anyway. There's a clue there. I'll let you think about that, right? Innocent man put on the cross and killed. So they'll do the same to you. So the way for us to keep the clean hands and stay in honour is to prove that the claimant has not followed due process, is in dishonour and has unclean hands. If you can do that, then there is no battle to be had further on. There is no fight to be had. There is no argumentation. There is no plea bargain. What's a plea bargain mean? They're bargaining, they're pleading for some monies. It's nothing about law. It's business again. Plea bargain. Yes? Think about that. Monies, contracts. UCC, we haven't talked about that, but that needs to come into play. The Securities Exchange Commission needs to come into play. The International Bank of Settlement needs to be discussed later, and the other one, Basel, is it Switzerland? The only place that's never had a bomb dropped on it. Where is that? Switzerland. What? Is that because everyone loves chocolate, Dave? No, it's because of the monies again. I'll leave it there. Shh, I yield.
What you just described is soul currency and compassionate wealth, because most people are caught up in the Babylonian magic trick, fake fiat currency that's backed by nothing. Whereas what you were describing is the sharing of the most precious gift, which is time and wisdom. And so I thank you for making that example for people who ask me, what is soul currency and what is compassionate wealth? That's what it is, what you just described, the sharing of time and the sharing of knowledge and wisdom, which is what we are all doing here. So thank you all for sharing in compassionate wealth and wisdom. And the other thing that you mentioned there about the having the clean hands and yet still being put to death, it reminds me of the letter by the rabbi during to Sanhedrin and Constantinople, where he said that the Jews were told that they had to convert to either Christianity or Muslim. And he says, well, what we're going to do is we're going to control the courts. And this way, if we control the courts through the lawyers and through the judges, we'll be able to control everything else. Is that what you were referring to as the clue because in my country, you're not allowed to point things out like that, because if you do, they say that you're being anti-Semitic, which is ridiculous, because I have nothing against the Palestinians who are being genocided because they are Semitic. It's a language, not a religion.
Absolutely.
I can comment. I can also comment on that, and I can say that what we are talking about is so-called crypto Jews. And now we have to think about another system what we have here. Crypto money. That means that it's like, I see it like it is hidden meaning behind it. Just like the crypto Jews, you can't say they are Jews, and maybe they are not Jews, you know, but they are coming from Jews, and they still work for the Jews. Yes, and I look at the crypto system with the money too, and I'm thinking, who been creating this? Why? Who is behind it? You know? Then I'm thinking, crypto, that's a warning word for me. Actually, I can't help it. Yeah.
Because it reminds me of the Talmud, where what you just described, the court system, is a way of keeping us enslaved and under control, which is not the way we were born. God did not want us to be enslaved. And so that's one of the things that I noticed, because if you read the Talmud, it says that even the best of non-Jews should all be killed, and that they're wanting to create a world where the Lucifer, the Antichrist, Satan comes back when they rebuild the temple, and that each one will have 2,800 slaves. But I've been to the Georgia Guidestones, and it was where the recipe for population control was written in granite in what's called the American Stonehenge, which has since been blown up. And of course, they never found who did it, which is weird, because I was there. And I know that they have cameras there. And I know that they have the license plate of the vehicle that drove over there, because it's a very remote part of the United States. So anyway, I know that they know who did it. And I know that there were human sacrifices that took place in the Georgia Guidestones. And the very first thing was to maintain the human population at 500 million. And so right off the bat, if you do the math, if they have 2,800 slaves each, that means that they don't even care about the Jews. They're going to have to kill off a lot of Jews. So these people who self-identify as Jews, they do that to, at least in the United States, hide behind the Anti-Defamation League, so that everything that you say is considered hate speech. And so anyway, I'm noticing, because that's what I learned during the Crackhead Jesus trials, the law firm of Alexander Conde and Aaron R. Cohen bragging to me that the predominance of lawyers in the United States are Jews, and the judges are Jews, and that they use the blacks to control the courts, just like they're doing right now with the Trump trials. They have these Jewish judges or these black judges, and then they have these Jewish or black lawyers. And
yeah, but I don't understand that. I don't get that, because there is no one that have been doing so much for Israel as Donald Trump, you know? And if that's good or bad, I won't say here, you know, but he's the one that's been doing most of them all, you know? So why should it be like that then, you know? Why should Jewish judges jump on Trump, you know, if he's doing so much work for them? I don't get it, you know. So I think we have to think about something else behind all this. That's what I think. And you were saying that we're going to have another program together. Maybe we can speak further about other stuff like that. A little bit how we see life and things too.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to finish the question that you asked 5 minutes ago, and I need to now segue onto what Anders said about crypto, which was death. Yeah, there's one element of it, but cryptographer, cartographer, crypt, it's code, it's cryptology, encryption. So crypt is multifaceted, and it's got areas of which we need to analyze and look at. When you talk of currency and money and value and exchange, trust would be man's one true currency. Not gold, not silver, not bullion. We haven't got trust, we've got nothing. So our one true currency would be trust, and our wealth is our offspring. You know, we say young stars. You know, if we are from the stars, we would like to call them youngsters, young stars, not kids. Kids are goats, and we'll leave that there. Then to finish off that, we move on to what Victor said about my, was it a parable? Was it a metaphor? You know, and when I said clean hands doctrine, it's a doctrine at law, right? When I tell you that the London Templars legal system, they say law, but it's not law, it's a legal system of MAMM, encryption and codes, codified code. Again, what's a code? Think, slow it down, have a look. A code? Exactly. It's not just a numbering system to make it easy. It's a minefield. So when we look at the clean hands doctrine, there are many doctrines, all right, because it's Latin, because of the papacy, because of the Templars, because of the monarchy, because of the oligarchical bankers and bloodlines that you're talking about, the nobility, the black, the grey, the red pope. I could go on for hours. I won't. I will just, Christopher Hitchens. Oh, I won't. Sorry, Kevin, he never escaped Christopher Hitchens. If you don't know who he is, research him. The doctrine, clean hands. So it wasn't, no, in answer to your question, to my answer to your, you know, some time ago about the clean hand doctrine, it wasn't anything untoward. There are many versions of the Bible. The Geneva Bible is the one that was in place before the 1611 KJV, allegedly written by Shakespeare and co. So there are many versions. I'm not here to critique or offend anyone with regards to religion and spirituality, but what I'm here to say is that the 1611 authorized version of the King James Bible is, and I've been told this privately, this is how I found this out. It wasn't YouTube. I didn't just think I know something. I was told this by several. Remember where my mum's from? It wasn't my mother. I'm going to put her in the frame because it wasn't. It was someone else, a barrister that I wowed when I said that he was a human rights barrister, and he didn't agree with me saying that rights are property at law and they come under equitable terms, and he said they don't. So that's another story, but it was them that told me that the KJV 1611 authorized version, and he said, here Dave, two witnesses in a court make a fact. Yes, they do. Testimony. Tester is above, testee is below for the males. Yeah, testee, testa. When you testify, yeah, there's no paperwork, there's no evidences as such. There's word of man under oath. Where does that authority come from? It comes from in Matthew, in one of the places of the KJV, where the two or more are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. Protection, yes, witness, evidence. So this is your pathway. This is your ultimate redemption manual. We've cracked the code. We have the keys, the lost keys of Freemasonry, the lost keys of etymology, and the KJV, and the, what did I say, the Universal Non-Sectarian Remedy. We're on it. We've had it for 5 years. We can show you how to exodus and go to the promised lands of milk and honey and be protected forever. That's not selling you anything. That's by you learning, being educated, knowing yourself, being aware, and doing what we've talked about today. So the correlation of Jesus being crucified. Who crucified Jesus? Do you know the name of the Roman emperor that made that order? Anybody?
Was it Pontius Pilate?
Ooh, yes, you're bang on. 10 sovereign points. Well done. So Pontius Pilate ordered the death of GJC. There you go.
Right.
Washed his hands.
Yeah.
Clean hands doctrine. So that's where. So when we say, all right, that the KJV 1611 is the source of the authority for the London Templars legal system, that's true. We can prove that. It's a fact. Now, what did England do with the law system, its legal system? What did the Templars do after 1067 when they ensconced themselves in London City? They went, what did Kevin say earlier? Halsbury's, yes, and we found Halsbury's as a reference in India, Singapore references. So it's not just London where they've banking and law has gone all across the realm, and they control it from here. Money, banking. You got like the last to close down, the obelisks are a clue. Yes, they weren't brought here, in my opinion. They were made here, and they remain here because they were never conquered and knocked down. So you can argue that they were brought from Egypt and in what BC or just after AD, very early, circa 300. I don't think they could get that from there, thousands of miles in one piece without a single crack. It's not going to happen. The lifting, they were built where they are, in my opinion. So Washington, London, Vaticano, there's a assembly, the tri-crown, the three horns, the warnings in the stories of. So the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., yeah, and you've got Delaware and things like that. Very, very shady. Is that part of America? I'd argue no. Yeah, the obelisk denotes, you've got the Oval Office, which denotes female autonomy in some ways. You've got what Jordan Maxwell showed us with the layout, what you mentioned Lincoln, so we'll go Washington and the other founding fathers that were in the what? Freemasonry? Yeah, so again, we got Vatican with the Basilica.
Yeah.
And then we got London with that's how it works. War, banking, law, souls, religion. So they work between themselves, and that's how we see it. I yield.
I want to finish off with Kevin, if you can guide people to your website where people can learn more, and also if you have any parting words. And before that, I want to lead people to my website. You can find all my channels on BitChute, Rumble, Brighteon, OurTube in the UK, and Going TV at victorhugocollection.com. You can scroll down to the bottom and there's links there. You can contact me on Gab at Victor Hugo Art, or you can email me at vhviipress@msn.com. And my channel on BitChute is Victor Hugo Maverick Artist. On Rumble, it's Victor Hugo Art News. And on Going TV, it's Maverick Artist. And I want to thank all of you for sharing the most precious gift we have, is your time and your wisdom. So Kevin, if you can, please send us out with information on how they can contact you if you wish, and any parting words.
Yeah, no problem at all. Our website is www.splspro.com. That is where all our resources are held. A lot of the documents, we have forums, everything you want, and we charge a massive £12 per year for your access to that. That's £1 a month over here, equivalent to probably $2 in America per month.
Donation
yeah,
access.
it's a donation.
Yeah.
None of us are paid. None of us take any money. Any money that's in the trust from the donations for membership, we then use, and have done many times, to help other people. Like we've had private doctors do reports, and we've paid for that for members, etc., etc. Nobody's getting any remuneration for what we do. I certainly wouldn't ask somebody that's already struggling with disability and health and are on entitlements, like they should be called, but they're on benefits. Why would I charge them? They're clearly struggling as it is. So, but we don't charge for anything, nothing at all. What I would like to just point out via the Bible, which is very interesting as we're talking about birth certificates and persons and man and woman, is I can't remember it. David will probably remember it exactly where it is, but it clearly says that God is no respecter of persons. And it goes on to say, should you transgress, so basically, if you go and claim to be a person, you're as guilty as those people trying to act against you. It's in the Bible. God
Because
is
we
no
are souls.
respecter. Yes.
We are
So
souls.
can't be
we
a
are
person.
spirits, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. The Holy Spirit. You know,
that's why
same thing.
I talk about the soul currency.
Yes.
Because that is the most important thing. The do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. The golden rule: love one another.
Yeah.
Treat your neighbor, whether he's African, whether he's Jewish, whether he's Hare Krishna, whether he's Hispanic. Just love one another, and that comes from the spirit, from the soul. Everything else is a Babylonian magic trick and illusion.
Yeah.
Kevin digressed there, so I'm going to finish off because he's done a Dave. He's done a Dave. You can find us by going to splspro.com on the web. There is a blue F for our Facebook page. You look up there, splspro.com. Just do a search, you'll find it. And then the blue F is obviously to our public Facebook trust. If you go to our domain and you donate the 12 credits, promises, pounds, cash, then you'll get access to our private domain for 1 year. And then there is a private Telegram group we have dedicated, just bespoke private access, so you can talk to us and get hold of us because we're not always on the website. There's a public Telegram group for those that are with Facebook and choose to remain in the public. And for those, there are those of them us out there that can't afford, like Kevin said, the £12 donation, the 12 promises. So we have to acknowledge, and to keep our hands clean, we do what we can. We have a duty and an obligation to everybody, like you've just said there, to echo what you've said, Victor, no matter the creed. So we have public and private places of contact, and then Indiglow, INDI space GLOW is the YouTube account that we use for ourselves and chatter. So those are the access points for contact for us. All right.
Yeah,
All right.
Victor gonna put all of those links under his description of the movie here or the show here. So he's gonna get those. Yep.
Great. I want to remind everybody that united we stand, divided we fall. Never give up, never surrender. Keep shining. Live, love, flow.
Victor's wonderful, mate. That's it. I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees.
Yeah.
Stop
you
the
very much.
recording.
Well,
Stop the recording.
May I just say, Albert, are you there? And before we stop recording, would you like your chance to shine? Because otherwise we're going to stop the recording, brother. Would you like to introduce yourself quickly, or we're going to go? No, he's happy to stay quiet. All right, then. Thank you all. Thank you. God bless.
All right. So, yeah, go ahead and